Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Greg Talks. I'm your host, Greg, and today we have another special guest with us today. She has over 25 years of experience being a 2D compositor. She is a producer and pipeline specialist for 2D and 3D animation, and she is the founder of the Animation Lounge. Everyone, please welcome Miss Sonya Carey.
Hello, everyone. For a great introduction. Thank you. Happy to be here.
And today I'm just going to ask you a few questions in regards to your journey in the animation industry and also with your business, the Animation Lounge.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll save that as the icing on the cake, the
Yeah,
animation.
exactly. So my first question is, where did your love of animation come from, and how did you get to where you are now, like in the industry?
Um, it's one of those things that you fall into animation and then you fall in love with it. But it's such a place that when you get into it, it takes care of like no matter where in life you're going, um, you know, using your psychology degree or using your engineering degree or your art skills or maybe you're an accountant or a lawyer or like we have so much. It takes care of so many things that you are, if you're the least bit interested in entertainment, which is what I was a drama major at university and I had
Okay.
a psychology, it was a double major. And I was always a fine artist as well. So just kind of somebody who's kind of torn between art and business. And when I graduated, I moved to California, and I couldn't work for the first year while I waited for my immigration process. So I just started, as an artist, I was like, what can I do to make money on my own? And I thought I could start making like graphic cards, like animating greeting cards, but I didn't really know what animation was. So I took a class, kind of just a fun intro to animation class, just to see what it was about. And mostly I was looking to make it like cards, graphic
Okay.
cards. And it just kind of opened up this world that I didn't even know existed, where there are like camera people and artists and everything. So I got a job almost right away, as soon as I could work on the Ren and Stimpy show,
Okay.
and it was uh, like just like the show at the time was such a big deal, and we had a lot of exposure to some really talented artists, and John Cristofalusi was like super inspiring. So I just from there went from studio to studio and made my way back to Toronto. I really wanted to move back, and I read about Nelvana in a magazine, and the magazine, it just kind of talked about this new digital platform that they had, but we were already doing digital medium in California. Like we would
Mhm.
scan the paper because everything was still drawn on paper, but
Right.
we would scan it, and they had the first, I believe, ink and paint digital system where you finally took it off paper into a computer. You could color it, put in the camera work. So Nelvana was just coming up with this kind of technology. I was like, well, I'm already doing that, so I'm going to apply for the job. And they immediately interviewed me and hired me pretty much the next day because people weren't really doing that yet. This was a new kind of technology that was taking off in animation, where you could get rid of half of the paperwork. And so I took the job and I came back to Toronto, and I really, it's just like it's something that when you're in and you're really in and you're passionate about it, you can just keep bettering your skill set. I was always kind of pushed into management, no matter what, even if I was just compositing or background artist or whatever. I was always kind of pushed into a managerial position. So becoming a producer was like compositing was such a great foundation because I kind of knew everything. Like I knew how to animate, and I knew how to, do some special effects. So because I could kind of talk the language that the artists were talking, it made me a producer who could now understand like really not just how things look on a schedule, but how long things actually take. And so I'm kind of in the trenches with the artists as more of a technical person than, you can be a producer who's more like a numbers person, more on the accounting side and,
Right.
taking care of that. But I like to be on the technical side, figuring out, that's where pipeline solutions come in, because things don't always work the way we think they're going to. You set out with a plan and a budget, and suddenly things start to fall apart. So instead of accepting that they're falling apart, I like to come up with like these kind of roundabout solutions to get things done. And it's not easy. It's like a whole
Mm-hmm.
brain process, but it comes up like, with statistics and people who love numbers. That's a really important thing. When you take human emotions out of things and you look at things in a numerical way, you kind of think, well, that is possible. Why isn't it happening? Okay, it's because there's an emotional factor here. Somebody's sad or depressed, or hold on, I'm just gonna turn down my family noise at the back there.
No, it's no problem.
Okay, sorry about that. But so basically just moving into new and like further and further and up and up in the the hierarchy in the studios. You just kind of get, I'm just in it. There's nowhere else for me to be.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. My second question is kind of going to go back to like your educational years. So, like when you were in college, how did you make yourself stand out to like different companies you may have been interested in wanting to be hired? Or
That's not exactly the route I took. When I was in college, I really, I loved being an actor, but I was really, I didn't realize how much more I loved what, people were doing behind the scenes, like the lighting and sound and the camera stuff.
mm-hmm.
So I was always trying not to stand out on the stage. I was always like, I never really felt comfortable.
Okay.
And I realized I was like, I'm not even trying to push myself forward here. I really am happier up on the catwalk doing, like plugging things in and figuring things out. So once I could figure that out in my mind, I had already graduated and realized like I just wanted to kind of work with things that move and technology. And so what I did was made myself stand out in studios. That's
Mm-hmm.
once you get to work, you have to find a way to let people see, I'm willing to do more. I'm willing to stay a little later. I'm willing to come in a little earlier to learn what you're doing. Give me an opportunity to do a job that I really don't know how to do, but let me learn it. Um, and so I was always like trying to, show not just through my voice, but by just proving myself with my
Mm-hmm.
physical work. Like people going, wow, that's actually really good. Like what you're doing is great. And communication skills are so important, because the way you speak to people,
Mm-hmm.
it just shows that you can hold a conversation, and um, you'd be able to speak to clients and other leads and supervisors, and hold your own in a conversation. So that's important as well.
Okay. So would you say like that's the biggest skill that you utilize was just communication?
And just the you know it's a lot of problem solving in animation, because you get sometimes a pile of what we call assets. Like you have a background and a
Yep.
character and
Hmm.
some special effects, and they're like, make something nice, make a scene. And you're like,
Hmm.
okay. Everything is like living inside of a computer, and there's like coding and node based software, and there's no really there's no one way to get things done. But if you're the person that's always finding the right way, finding the fast way, but also producing really nice artwork, it makes you suddenly, more valuable. People will want to know, like, how did you do that? How are you getting things done quicker than other people? So I'm using like a skill set that's in problem solving. And when you
Hmm.
look at, and I like looking at numbers and statistics, and if I'm like doing something, I'm like, if I stop doing this one step, I'm going to go quicker. You know, I'm taking out one thing that's setting me back, and always thinking, how can we go quicker, but still keep it, you know, really the quality really nice. So yeah.
Okay.
So I hope that was a good answer.
It was. I do think efficiency when it comes to problem solving is one of the most important things when you're doing like anything, because you know things do have to get done in a timely manner, but you still want to have an upkeep of quality at the same time. So,
Yeah, and there's always curveballs, and there's always like things that are surprising you. So you have to learn how to just deal with them, find a new way, and not, you know, let everything take you down. Just keep marching forward no matter what comes flying at you.
mhm. And then that does lead me to my next question. What challenges have you faced so far, like in the industry, or what are some of your biggest challenges?
I think for me it was like the decision to, you can't be both at some point, being an artist and a, you know, production person or a producer. They
Hmm.
don't always go hand in hand, and I always wanted to hold on to my art, you know, and just keep, like, I was always like, yeah, I can be a production manager who's always an artist, or a producer who's always, you know, who's taking up some more difficult shots. And it just doesn't, it just doesn't work that way. So that was hard for me to really separate those two sides of myself. But I do a lot of artwork at home on my own time, so that it keeps that kind of that side of my brain happy.
Okay.
And then I think just sometimes being, you know, it's better now, but often there are a lot of male voices in the room with us, and sometimes as a woman, I feel like maybe it's, you know, in a creative field, the creative people are usually men, like at the top, like the directors and the lead writers and the,
Yeah.
you
Hmm.
know, art directors. There's a lot of male presence there,
Hmm.
the major storytellers, you know. So on that larger creative side, I would like people to hear my creative voice, and that's been very challenging. You
Okay.
know? Yeah.
That now leads me to this though. Have you ever had to deal with an equity and inclusion issue while at work? Since you did mention, you made it a point to mention how there definitely is a majority of male creative voices and not so much female creative voices, and well,
Mhm.
especially African American ones.
Yeah, I think um, that's definitely a part of me that I'm starting to face. You know, like I
Hmm.
always felt like, oh, I'm just, you know, I'm not, you know, I'm not different, and I'm being treated the same as everyone else, and I'm, you know, not facing those challenges. But it's definitely something I've had to definitely face and come to terms with. So it
Hmm.
is, I think, a lot more challenging for me, especially uh, like when you rise, you know, a little bit higher in the hierarchy, and you're with like really major players.
Hmm.
You get a seat at that table. You know, for somebody like me, it's taken a long time and a lot of experience where other, you know, people might rise quicker and get a lot more help. You know, I've had to help myself a lot along the way.
Okay.
um, and it's, yeah, it is hard, and it is also hard to come to terms with, you know, because you kind of feel like you want to be,
Hmm.
I think of myself like everyone else, but when I step back and really take a look at it, it's like, really, I'm not. You know, things could have been a lot different, easier. A lot more doors would have opened a lot more easier if I were a man, for example, and if I weren't definitely a black woman.
Hmm.
It, um, it's harder to get that seat at the table and keep it and be taken seriously in that seat, you know. And then I do get a lot of, I guess it's called imposter syndrome, because they have a name for it
Yeah.
now, where
Hmm.
sometimes you are there and you're like, why am I here? How did I get here? Why? I'm in this technical forum with a lot of really great minds, engineers and scientists and, great filmmakers. And I'm like, I shouldn't even be here. Like, but that's just all that stuff where you've been kind of kept down
Yeah.
and fought your way to the top. So yeah, it's interesting. A lot of stuff going on internally for sure.
And like as you've faced some of those internal struggles and like setbacks, how have you dealt with those things?
I wanted to make my own ceiling. I realized, all this started to come to light, uh, a couple of years, maybe, yeah, 2 years ago. I decided to create the animation lounge where I would make the freedom for myself to teach and create in the way I want to and be my
Hmm.
own producer where I can say all the yeses to me that I want. you know? So yeah, I think if, there's glass ceilings and invisible
Hmm.
ceilings, you have to create your own, So basically I'm building my own endless, uh, endless amount of opportunity on my own. So it's been great, like just teaching, keeping people motivated, learning and teaching software, which keeps my creative side happy. So yeah, just creating my own creative space, and I tell my own stories and make my own artwork, and it's yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's also why I know I've been told this, and I try to encourage other people to like start their own thing like
Mhm.
early because having something of your own that you get to dictate is just a different kind of energy. It just feels good to like own something and to like watch it grow. So,
Yeah, no, it's really not just rewarding, but you suddenly have given yourself an opportunity that might have taken you 25 years to get. You built a
right,
business, and suddenly it's like, wait a minute, I'm able to tell a story and put it out on YouTube or Instagram or whatever. Like, it can be the tiniest cartoon, but you made it, you produced it. Nobody said no, you can't do that.
right.
So yeah. Then you have the power. Artists are very powerful, and everybody can just remove all of those obstacles and create their own little space where they produce their own films. And that's a part of what I promote too.
Is there any like independent projects that you've taken a liking to on YouTube that have like cropped up the last couple of years?
Not so much on YouTube, but I do communicate with a lot of artists on Instagram.
Hmm.
Sorry, on LinkedIn
Hmm.
and Instagram. But LinkedIn is, I think, everybody has their favorite kind of social media platform. But I think LinkedIn works for me because I'm just like, I can just scroll through in the night, and you can message people, and just, it goes out to them immediately. And it's, yeah, I like, and I find a lot of artists that way, and not really any short films yet, but just great artwork that the people that I want to work with and keep in touch with and see what they're doing.
Okay. Yeah, because I know lately, I mean, there has been one I know that's been really going up in popularity on YouTube. It's a guy called Hasbin Hotel, and a lot of people I know on Instagram been making like fan art and everything of it. So I was just trying to see if you knew about that one in particular, because I
I
was
don't I'm gonna look it up after this.
yeah, because I was just kind of, I'm not gonna lie, I was amazed at how big and how fast it blew up, like an original idea on YouTube. Yeah, it's definitely quite something though, because it kind of makes me think like why people didn't try it in the past, but
Yeah, but I don't know why a lot more people don't. It's such a great platform, and you can have a channel and have a huge audience. And yeah, I do have a YouTube channel with one. I'm trying to put like people's films on there who've completed the film, and it's a really great independent film that's never really been seen.
hmm.
So I have one on there right now that It was just done by this great animator who did the whole thing on his own, and it's like
Oh
20
wow.
minutes long, and it's really, really great. But yeah, I'm always looking out for stuff like that, so I'll look.
Okay. So like what are your core values, and how do those motivate you to, keep going with your work?
Um, I think ultimately I'm just I try to just be a good person, and that kind of
Mhm.
translates into my work. So just being like um, clear and honest with myself and with the people I work with and clients. It's not always a really good situation, but I don't also want to sweat it out and be dishonest with myself. Like I have limitations on what I can get done and what time frame I can get them done in. So that's that part of me, just being a nice person and having some sort of integrity. It just carries me through every day, and sometimes it's well received, sometimes it's not. But I try to
Right.
just be honest and upfront every day. I'm also have a huge work ethic. Like I like to finish things,
Yep.
even if it's like so hard and I'm like, I could just walk away at any minute. I don't like to leave people in a predicament, so I do like to finish. And that's one thing I think people can say is that I've really stuck it out and toughed it out for them and helped bring in some pretty big projects on time. And
Okay.
sometimes it's a little, 2 in the morning, but I gotta
Yeah.
stop that.
Mhm.
But yeah, just huge work ethic.
Okay. And I know I told you that I kind of found you like through Google, but something I also, because I always get like surprised when I find out that you worked on like projects that I loved when I was younger. But I noticed that you have a Princess and the Frog poster behind you, and I do know that you were quite integral to that film being produced. And I also know you worked on the Proud Family movie as well. So how was working like when you were like on the crew for those films, how was that experience? And then secondly, are you working on the reboot for the new Proud Family? So,
I wish. No, the Proud Family movie, I had started my own little studio way back called Make a Scene, and that
mhm,
studio lived in my basement of my house, and I was just doing commercials and small projects for people.
mhm,
So I would bring home like boxes and boxes of paper, like, on animation that was drawn on paper. And I had a scanner and I would scan them, like scan and then I would paint them. So I had my own digital ink and paint system and composite because I could see it through to comp and, out to post by myself in my basement. So I did, a lot of Kellogg's commercials, Tony the Tiger and
mhm,
that kind of thing, Snap, Crackle, Pop. And then this one of the companies that I was doing the Kellogg's commercial for, they got 5 minutes of the Proud Family movie, and they said, we can't really fit it in the studio. Could you do it? It's just 5 minutes. It was a 5 minute, the ending of the Proud Family movie,
mhm.
and I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. And literally, mountains of artwork arrived at my house, like boxes and boxes of
Oh.
paper. I was like, oh my god, because 5 minutes of animation, it's like it's a lot of drawings. And but I did it, like, so I really had just myself and all that artwork, and we have exposure sheets, and I was, because I could read exposure sheets, and I just kind of went away at it on my own, and I watched the Proud Family just to get a sense of what it looks like, and the making sure I had the colors right and everything. And so I produced all of that from my basement. And
Wow.
when I met Bruce Smith, we both worked on The Princess and the Frog.
Mhm.
And it was like years later, we did that movie, and I saw him at a party, and I said, "Did you know that I, worked on The Proud Family?" And he's like, "No." And I'm just like a person in Toronto, and he's like, "How?" And I
Mhm.
said, "Oh, the company that you were working with, they gave it to me, and I was working closely with that studio, so they trusted me, and I said I did it in a basement in Mississauga, Ontario.
Yeah,
They were
that's
really
still
shocked.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, if I could do it, like, because when you can do everything, like manage the production plus do all the artwork and the compositing and paint backgrounds. I painted all the backgrounds for that 5-minute ending too, which I don't know if he knew until maybe this moment. But I did everything inside of Toon Boom, even the background artwork. I
Hmm.
took it out of Photoshop and did it in Toon Boom instead because it was quicker. And
Okay.
that's what I'm like. I'm like, I gotta think outside the box. I gotta come up with some new ways. And then the Princess and the Frog was just it was a time when I did a series of features, and when that one came along, it was like um, just working with the Disney producers and executives. They were really like just so. I'd never been on a feature that was so loved by everyone. Like everybody just was believing in it, and the research and uh, the motivation behind that film was something I'd never experienced. And I got to, go down to the studio in LA and see the concept art and all the research that went into it from New Orleans, and it was amazing. So it was just cool to be on something that was so great. And then they really, because of having a Black woman working away on the technical side in Toronto was something
Hmm.
they didn't, account. Like they're like, this is amazing. So they could ask me like, things like how I felt about how she looks and how does she represent and all that. And I just do what I do. Like I said, she's beautiful, and she's just, like for the whole throwback movie, the whole classical feel, something that you want to watch over and over and again.
Oh,
They
oh,
really captured that.
yeah. Hmm.
I've watched it like 20 times and
Yep,
I
same.
never get bored. Yeah, it's just such a great movie. So, and it was like the year of Obama, and so much change and
Too.
a feeling of inclusion was starting to happen. So it's just a great honor to be in that moment on that film, and got to work with some really amazing artists. And I got, yeah, we had a really great party in LA where we got to see John Lasseter and people like that.
Oh
So it was
wow.
fantastic. Hmm.
Mm.
Great experience.
Yeah, that definitely must have been something too, because John Lasseter is, to my knowledge, considered a pretty big name. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, it was
mhm.
real. And Oprah was one of the executive producers of that film as well. And I think, and she did do the voice of Tiana's mom.
Yep.
And but she did not come to the party, and I'm still sad about that. I was waiting for her all night. So it was great.
Okay.
One of a kind. I always say that's the pinnacle. That's why she's hanging back there all the time.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I always very much appreciate the work that you guys did on that film in particular, because that's like, I think, one of the last films that kind of has that 2D magic. No pun
Yeah.
intended, but yeah, it's very
Yeah.
much.
I think it's the last one to be done entirely on paper, followed by Winnie the Pooh, which is the next
Mhm.
poster. Winnie the Pooh was done right after. We did it like back to back, and Winnie the Pooh, I don't believe was meant to be a theatrical release, but they released it that way anyway. So it really didn't. It was a really great film, but it didn't get the eyes on it that it should have. But
Yeah.
I think officially that was the last one. Winnie the Pooh was the last one done on paper, but the Disney princesses, yeah, Tiana was the last one done in that classical style. Now it's kind of classical inside of a computer, which is not the same. Has to be on
Right.
paper.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a shame because like my next question was going to be like, where do you see like the future of animation going? Because me personally, I know after seeing like a film like Into the Spider-Verse and stuff, which was definitely kind of caught a lot of people off guard because it has that very much 2D aesthetic, but they were able to combine it with 3D so well that it just kind of was a perfect mesh.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like it makes me wonder, like if we're ever going to go back to 2D at some point, because I know like CG and 3D animation is so good, and it's not that it's like bad, but you
Yeah.
know, 2D
I
still has
think,
a place.
I mean, Klaus was just done
Hmm.
in the 3D style, and
Yeah, that was amazing too.
although it's like it's not on paper, but it is drawn. You know, it's drawn
Hmm.
by hand in the computer, so it's it's kind of coming back, but it's definitely not. It doesn't have the feel as when it was on like on paper. You know, there's something about flipping the paper and
Hmm.
uh, seeing the, like the little imperfections. I think maybe in the computer everything is just too perfect.
Yeah,
And
that's what it is.
sometimes the imperfections, like those jittery frames, you know, like you're watching the lines and they're all wiggling. I think
Hmm.
that makes it just feel something charming about that that's missing now.
Yeah, I know. Like whenever I get around to making my show, I definitely want to like take it back to 2D. I know at that point it'll be so rare, or you might stop seeing it. Period. But I really want to do that because for me, all of my favorite animations are mostly like 2D. The ones that I grew up with, being a '99 baby and 2000s kid. So yeah, because I don't know, there's just something about actually having, as you said before, with those lines and the flipping the pages and stuff. Like it just makes you feel something different, and I kind of want people to feel that again. So,
Yeah, I think as soon as you treat it like that, you can't help but feel something. You know, you can see all the craftsmanship and
mhm.
all that that's going into it. It's, yeah, and just the imperfections that you can't get from the computer, you know, unless you try to make it messy.
Yeah. So yeah. But my last question for you is, what advice can you give to aspiring young creatives that want to pursue animation?
Um, I think it depends. Like if you're trying to be a creative on your own, you know, like just know that if you stick to something, if you have an idea and you finish it, it's all about the finishing. Like we all, like I'm terrible at that. Like I start tons of different kinds of artwork or little ideas here and there and there. But if
Mm,
you stick to one thing and do it well, someone's going to look at it. You know, someone's going to see it somewhere. If you produce like by yourself your own little series and you know, you're just releasing something new every day, if it's just like a couple of seconds or whatever, people are going to start to notice, you know. Just finish things for yourself. That's important. And then if you are going to try and get, you know, into a studio, make sure that you know, you be the best. Like we sometimes we feel like entitled, like I should get this job just because of, you know, they should hire minorities, they should, you know, do this. And that's all true, but you also have to be good at what you're doing. Like make sure that you are the best person in the room, the best candidate. And always, like at home, I'm always learning. Like I teach myself software just to like a little bit every night just because I'm interested. You know, I want to find out how can I do this and how can I do that, and I like to give myself little projects. So, and when I'm teaching the animation lounge, before I teach a class, I teach myself. You know, I don't want to go in and not know all the answers. So that that keeps me learning. So I think that's important. Keep learning, keep being the best. Don't just, you know, arrive thinking, well, I should be here, because you should be, of course, but you should also be really good at what you do and socialize a lot. Like this is a very sociable industry.
mhm.
A lot of schmoozing and getting to know people, getting to know like the industry events and signing up for workshops. You know, a lot of people come to my workshops just to network. Before COVID-19, I had a roundtable after the classes, where
Mhm.
people could just have a coffee or a glass of wine, and we would just, just people from different studios just meeting each other and talking. And I like to go to events just to just be seen, and see people and see what's going on, see who's new, what people are up to. Yeah, just keep up with new software, new trends, and just be curious. It's important.
All right. Well, thank you, Miss Sonya Carey, for being here and answering my questions. Uh, you once again are an inspiration to me and so many others. So we just implore you to keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm always surprised still when people find me and say that to me, but I do I do love to give back. So having this chance to talk to you and have people maybe look at the workshops or just try and find out about different events is important. So thank you for finding me.
No problem.
Okay, good.